boy Big J, Jason Meyer. We're here at healthyu today to talk about the deadlift. Now, it's called a deadlift because you should always start from a dead stop at the bottom. There are certain variations to this, but we're going to teach you the most common technique for the most common type of person. We can always adjust your personal technique if this technique does not work well for you. If it feels extremely uncomfortable, if it just doesn't feel right, let us know and we can adjust from there. So, as always, when we are training, the force always has to start from the ground. So we got to talk about our feet. Your feet are going to be a little bit more narrow than when we're squatting. Okay? We're talking about the traditional straight ahead deadlift technique. We're not talking sumo deadlift. Okay? When we're talking about our normal deadlift technique, it is going to be a little more narrow than my squat stance. My personal squat stance, when I measured it out and turned my feet, is right about here. My deadlift stance, I want my heels to be underneath of my hips. Okay? It's okay to be more narrow because for most people, we're not going to have to squat down as low as when we have a bar on our back and we're doing a squat. So I have my heels right underneath of my hips. I still turn my toes out a little tiny bit. Turning my toes out helps me open up my hips so that I have more freedom of movement as I lower myself down. Hands. Your hands should be wide enough so that when you squat down, your arms aren't in the way of your knees. If I'm here, I have no other option than to take my knees and collapse them in. Okay? So, heels under my hips, feet slightly turned out. I'm going to take my hands wide enough so that I'm not in the way of my legs. The wider you go with your hands, the more back activation and more lat activation that you're going to get. Okay? So, we're going to use a knuckles forward grip or a pronated grip. For me, my hands will be approximately at the hash marks on the bar. When I go before I lift, I want to think about pulling myself down into position, get my back as tight as possible. I almost want to think about bending the bar around my body, turning my pinkies back towards me. That's going to activate my lats and activate my upper back nice and tight so that we can get a nice strong pull. Now, before we actually get into the movement, I want to show you why we have the bar stacked on plates. Your standard weight plates are all going to be the same size, okay? But when we're learning a movement, we always want to start with the bar itself. So, we stack the plates to a height that the middle of the bar should be going through that hole right there. That way when we're learning the movement, we're teaching our nervous system exactly how far down we have to go so that when we start to add weight, we don't have to change anything about our technique and our form. So that's why it's stacked on plates right now. Now, for the movement itself, you'll see it when I'm actually moving the bar when we get a side angle for you. But just like when we were squatting, our very first movement should be to pop the butt back, not to squat straight down. Okay? For those of you that have seen Legally Blonde, it's the good old bend and snap. Alright? So we pop the butt back. Once we pop the butt back and the bar clears our knees, we squat to touch, stand straight back up. Pop, sit, touch, straight up. Pop, sit to touch, straight up. Set my feet, heels under my hips, turn my toes out. My hands are out of the way of my legs. I pull myself into position, I try and bend the bar around me. I stand straight up. I'm not leaning backwards. I stand straight up and squeeze my hips, squeeze my butt cheeks real tight. Pop the butt back, sit, touch, straight up. Butt back, sit, touch, straight up. Alright, so again, before we actually move the weight, if you can't hear these coaching cues enough, feet, my heels will be right underneath my hips, my toes are turned slightly outwards. One thing I didn't mention from the front is, when I'm looking down over the bar should be roughly dead center in the middle of my foot. That's going to give us the most balance, and that's going to give us the most ability to press into the ground, which is the ultimate goal. So make sure when you're looking down over the bar is tracking through the middle of our foot. Hand placement, wide enough so that our arms are out of the way of our knees as we go down. Remember, we want to pull ourselves down into a position to get our back tight. To make our back even tighter, we're thinking about bending the bar around our body to activate our lats and our upper back. Breathing. Most important part of lifting is breathing. Very similar to a squat. We want to squeeze our belly button to our spine, and we want to take a nice big breath right before we go down or right at the very beginning of the movement. Breathe in nice and big. When we come back up, we push the air back out. This is not a passive breath. We got to focus on the breath if we want to move more weight. Alright? So, again, when I move, just like the bend and snap and legally blind. Butt back, sit to touch, straight up. Back, sit, straight up. Alright, so that's the basics of the deadlift movement, the standard deadlift, not a sumo deadlift, the standard deadlift for the most common individual out there. Again, if you feel restricted, if something doesn't feel right, just stop, contact us at healthyu and we can work on some variations. If you want to try something different before you actually have weight on the bar, if you feel really restricted in your hips, or if you feel a lot of tension in your knees, just try turning your toes out a little bit more. If that doesn't solve the problem, stop, let us know, and we can work on getting you into a better position for you. But again, we always want to start with the ground. Heels under our hips, feet turned slightly out. We want to think about pushing the ground away from us, not pulling the bar up. When we think about pushing the ground away, we're going to produce more force consciously through our nervous system to put that bar up into the air as a matter of fact. Alright, hands out of the way of our knees so that when we go down, our arms aren't hitting our knees. Bend that bar away to get our entire back nice and tight. Squeeze that core, nice big breath on the way down. Push it back out on the way up. And as always, if you have any questions about the movement, if you have any other questions in general, let us know at healthyu and we can always make more videos and get more information for you. But until next time, Big J, Jason Meyer, have a great time deadlifting.